There it is. What's going on, Internet? Welcome into MJT Football. I'm your host, Tony Tucker, joined by my good friends, NFL Mike and the Joe Morley on social media. Go out there, follow them, talk to them. They love it. Hope everybody's having a great summer. I know it's the downtime of football season, but we put together a show. We're going to talk a little fantasy football in the middle of the show here. We're talking QB rankings, stuff like that. There's some crazy talk going on there about my guy. I'm on the internet. I'm going to put the kibosh on that during this show. And then we'll finish up with a little trivia between the two old heads on the show, me and Joe Morley. And we're starting off the show with some of the cool draft videos. Non-football talk real quick. A couple weeks ago, I said it was Otter Pop season. It is officially bug bite season. Went back to Michigan last week and visit family and friends. I'm from the UP. I'm a Uper. And I have about 3,000 bug bites. I don't know if you guys actually go outside and enjoy your life, but bug bites are unreal right now.
What is outdoors?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you know how hot it is outside? Like, sugar melts in the sun, Tony. So I can't really walk out there.
Oh, I knew you were going to turn it into some flavor. Mike, how about you? Are you outdoors? Are you fishing at all? Getting out?
Oh, very outdoors.
The bug bites that I'm experiencing?
I'm not, Tony. You know why? Because you can stop the bugs from biting you.
How? I need a secret.
You just need to use your brain power. Use you need to use your use your determination and just really think hard. Really make yourself a bug repellent. Really intimidate the bugs around you, Tony, with your aura and your essence. And you have confidence, real confidence that you could stand in a swarm of mosquitoes and not get bit. You will not get bit. I'm telling you, I've literally been in mosquito-invested environments. Use this strategy. I do not get bit a single time, ever. My wife's getting bit up. My father-in-law is getting bit up. And they're like, why aren't you getting bit? I was like, because I'm telling them not to bite me. You guys haven't even tried that yet. You guys think that it's all myth and I'm just making it up. But it's worked since I was a kid. And the thing is when I was a kid, I would get bit like crazy until I found this strategy. And I stopped getting bit. That proves that what I'm saying is true scientifically.
You can't get bit if you don't want to get bit.
You just have to have the willpower. Do not let them bite you.
It's a mindset. I'm going to have to get in there and watch the tape on this one. Really grind it and figure out where I made the mistake. Did I show weakness when the first mosquito was trying to fly into my ear or landed on my face? Did I panic or did I show resilience and toughness? Dig down. And really
you probably show weakness on the way there when you're thinking in your head, like, man, it's this time of year. There's going to be mosquitoes. No, don't just take that all out.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
I spent a lot of time on the lake. It was a lot of fun, though. I love Michigan. I miss being there. The shitty parts of Michigan, the wintertime, don't miss that. But the summer, there's no better place than being on Lake Superior.
So you're saying that all these bugs? Nah, I won't say it, Tony. I like it too much.
Say it.
Don't tempt him. He's going to say something that's going to derail the show. Don't do it.
I just like to cuss, so I wanted to use my first cuss word of the show today.
I know. I thought we were going to try and make it 10 minutes without doing that, so that during the replay, for whatever algorithm things, they don't shun us away from everybody else. I don't know.
Thanks for filling me in, guys. I didn't know we were doing anti-cussing this show. Definitely should have told me. You know what I mean?
It's not. This isn't an anti-cuss show. We're fine. We're good.
Yeah, there's no fucking cuss words on this. Show.
All right.
There it is. Thanks a lot. YouTube algorithm hates us already. Zero, what's going on, player? How we doing? Zero here, the Cowboys fan, his all-in summer. Before we do get into our first topic, which is the draft room videos that I have a couple thoughts on. Atlanta Falcons are in a real tough spot, but the thing that that Joe sent us of Zeke saying that he still sees himself as a number one running back, and then Joe captions it with and I see myself as like a 250-pound man. I was laughing so hard, and I was like at dinner when I read the message, and everybody's like, nothing's that funny that's going on around here. It was a combination of Joe's caption and the idea that I think that if you're going to play in the NFL, you probably should have that sort of confidence or whatever, but that's not it. He can't handle that workload, that 350 touches or whatever that prime Zeke was handling. Like I just don't see it as being good.
That's basically like Cowboys fans every offseason, Tony. They'll always believe. They'll always believe. This is our year.
Yeah.
Joe, I thought you were.
This is where they get it from, right here. This is where, like I said in the video, this is where the Cowboy fans get it from. Like, we think that they're fucking delusional. Their players are damn delusional. Look at, like, I even said, like, Dak Prescott thinks he can win a playoff game one time. Like, come on. Like, if we're thinking like that, Jerry Jones thinks that he's still a good general manager. And then Cowboy fans are like, oh, he is one. He's still great. He's all in this year, and we haven't seen the Cowboys do shit. Like,
wait.
All in, and you bring back Ezekiel Elliott.
On these players, Joe. He's all in on these young players. I'm all in on this roster, Joe. He clarified months after making the statement.
So yesterday I was listening to an interview with Florio or one of those guys or Pelissaro, and they were saying Dak's going to be the first $60 million QB, whether it's the Cowboys or it's with another team next offseason. And I'm just in my head, I'm like, $60 million for a QB, that's already what, like 20%? And I don't know how the numbers get finagled and moved around or whatever, but like I just don't think outside of Patrick Mahomes, anybody's worth $60 million. Like, you just can't be getting to crazy numbers. And definitely, I don't think that I've ever felt like Dak should be that guy or going to be that guy. But good for him. Make all the money you can.
Let's go full.
Tony, after what Trevor Lawrence did, they screwed the league over, right? They screwed the league over. Trevor Lawrence, $55 million. I mean, I guess you're worth whatever somebody's willing to pay you, but he's not the top quarterback right now.
It isn't going to stop. This is what I was saying years ago when I was fighting for Dak in that situation. I was basically trying to get through everyone's skulls that I understand Dak is not the best quarterback in the league. That's not the point I'm trying to argue. The point I'm trying to argue is that there's a clear trend in the market. And I think I sent you guys a video. I made a video a couple weeks ago on it, on how all of a sudden now there's like 15 quarterbacks. Half the league makes more than 30 million, when back in 2009, like not even that long ago, there was only 2 or 1 quarterback that made that much money. I could see where the market was going at that time, and I knew that everyone was going to pass Dak up. And now it's gotten to a point where if you're just a starting caliber quarterback, there's going to be a contract dispute, and you're going to get paid by somebody. If you're just a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL at this point, I believe Baker Mayfield got paid $30 million this offseason, which is half of the Trevor Lawrence contract. But that's still, to me, it's crazy to think about when Peyton Manning, I think, made $30 million plus maybe in one season his entire career.
Well, and that's a deal too. I really think Baker should be higher. He should at least be in the Daniel Jones ballpark, but that allowed the Bucs to keep a pretty solid roster together. Like, I think the Buccaneers last year, I was kind of low on them. Big mistake on my part. I will not make the same mistake again. I don't think Dave Canales is going to make that big of a difference, that loss. Last thing on the contract stuff, just because I feel like we're talking about value and different things there. The best player on the Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson, signs a contract. Like, it's a bargain. He is head and shoulders the best player on that offense, and they just got him for like $9 million a season. I saw it was like $17 million fully guaranteed, 36 was the number over a 4-year extension. Like, to get your best player on your team at $9 million, like, this is a guy who 1,500, 1,600 all-purpose yards easy, even on kind of a worse offense. Like, that's a steal to me.
Yeah, in a way, this might work out, having all of the other positions be easier to afford. And of course, the quarterbacks being way too expensive. Teams have to decide. You want to have a good team or a good quarterback? You can't have both anymore. You have to pick.
So I thought I
the
saw something
quarterback.
yesterday, Mike,
Go ahead,
on what you're talking about, Mike. I thought I saw something yesterday that the NFL owners were going to discuss a different salary cap for the quarterbacks. I don't know how it would work, but I thought I read that yesterday, and I in my mind I was like, it could work and it could not work because, like, say you put $100 million aside, and every team has $100 million for a quarterback position. Does that mean you have to spend it? Like, even if I have shitty quarterbacks, I have to give them $100 million, or
No. So
it'd be like NBA where we could write them off one contract.
this is something I've been talking about for many years, that there should be a team salary cap and a QB salary cap, right? So that, like, because I think it's a little unfair to certain positions like linebacker. We're seeing that, safeties, running backs, especially. Like, if you have separate salary caps, then you don't have to worry about when you hit your big time quarterback, your team doesn't, the rest of the guys on the roster don't have to be punished. Because something Mike just said, you have to choose between a good quarterback and a good team. And I think the thing is that when you pay the quarterback that elite money, is that he's making up for what you're having to lose in that every year in free agency. A team like the Ravens can't afford to keep a guy like Patrick Queen because of what they're paying Matt Abike, paying Lamar Jackson. I'm not sure what Ronnie Stanley's numbers are, but paying those sort of what we call, the premier positions. But then you get a team like the Steelers, and it's like they're paying what, $4.5 million for quarterback play this year between the guys they got on the roster and whatever they still owe Kenny Pickett cap hit wise. Like, they can afford to sign a guy like Patrick Queen. So I think that you really have to exceed your value at QB. As before, you just kind of had to meet it. Now you definitely have to be playing Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen level football. And that's what we're going to see, because Josh Allen's got to be due a pay bump here at some point. Like, he's got to be looking around going, wait, I'm making the same amount of money as Daniel Jones. Like, I'm making $46 million, $45 million. And this guy, they're talking about replacing him with Drew Lock. Like, what's wrong with this situation? So there's got to be a real bump headed in that area at some point.
And it makes sense.
Ever put down Drew Lock
the
like
way,
that?
yeah, my favorite quarterback of all time. And it makes sense to have it formatted this way, to where, like we're saying, the cap is spent either on the players around the quarterback or the quarterback. When you have 7 elite quarterbacks making that much money, or 8, but when we stretch it out to half the league, you might as well do some kind of QB only cap, or some kind of QB maximum contract where it's like every quarterback that gets paid whatever deal, you can negotiate bonuses or you can negotiate other stuff, but your base salary is set at this. This is the end. We're not going higher on quarterbacks than this $55 million number. I think that's enough, guys. I think 55 is enough for y'all for at least like 10 years. Before we need to raise this more.
There should be sort of a threshold where it's like, hey, the first 40 million count against the cap. They could do something like that. And if you work it out with them, you can then have also like a 25% increase of whatever that number is if you want. And you can sort of go to bat at that point where it's like, hey, we're setting the number at 50 million. And then whatever we decide to pay them over, that doesn't actually count against our cap. That is us recognizing it, and we can go 25% higher than that. So that would be what, another 12.5 million. So you could potentially pay them 62.5 million, but only that first 50 would count. So it's like, I think that they could look at something like that would then allow them to still be keeping these other players and letting them get paid what their value is, because all of these teams, they won't admit it, but it's almost like they're conspiring and saying, hey, let's all make sure that we don't overpay certain positions so that we can still get these players at a certain value, or we think we can find them in the draft, because there has to be a bubble coming soon for wide receiver. Like, you can't just be looking around going, oh, we can afford to pay these guys $35 million.
Every single one, yeah.
$40 million. Yeah.
Wide receiver 2s. There've been wide receiver 2s in the league for multiple years now, wanting like $35 million.
Jamar Chase isn't going to come when it's time for him to get paid and tell the Bengals, hey, I need 37 and a half a year. It's like, holy shit, man. Like that's it's a big number.
As the market share grows.
Right now, last thought on it, there's no benefit of waiting to pay your quarterback right now. Like, I don't know what the Cowboys and Dolphins are doing. Every day that you wait to pay these guys, it goes up. Like, you could have had Dak and Tua under contract, and then you just saw this new contract come out with Trevor Lawrence, and you're like, oh my God, what did we just – like, you should have got it done. You should get it done as soon as you can and get him under that cheap contract.
Even looking at Kirk Cousins last offseason, Joe, Vikings go into that thinking, let's see how it plays out. If he's undeniable, then we'll extend him and keep him here. Then he tears his knee up, and he still got the mega deal. Didn't even matter that he tore his knee up last season at his age. Still got the huge deal. Still got the big payday, and it's not going to matter either way. They're always going to get paid as long as it's formatted the way it's formatted. The thing that sucks is for the other positions like running back that have had a hard time getting those contracts, for the positions like linebackers that had a hard time getting those contracts, your guards, your interior defensive linemen for the most part. As the market share goes up, as the NFL makes more money, as the NFL goes global, as the NFL sells more TV rights and are charging the customers more for tickets, all this is going up, but those guys don't seem to get the same percentage boosts that the premier positions, as you will, receiver, quarterback, are getting right now in the league. So
just like MJT.
Some kind of reconfiguration to where the running backs and the linebackers also get a pay raise when all these salary cap raises are implemented would be great to see for these guys.
You know what I'm saying, Mike? It's just like us right here. Tony's getting all the money, and we're just seeing just a little bit. Just a little bit.
You guys are getting paid?
Oh.
I was actually going to bring this up before the show, but I'm on my way out. Someone offered me a new deal. I've been wearing this shirt around. It worked. I got signed. Enjoy the JT podcast. Enjoy the JT podcast, everybody.
I was wondering who agent was. I was just like, that's how old I am. I was like, free agent. Like, who the hell is agent? Like,
so it's a nice hat, by the way, Joe. It's a nice hat you got on there.
We got rival make it great again hats. There was an opportunity for a transition into these draft rooms videos, but it just got swept under the rug. So there's nothing great. I'm just gonna say it. Some of the draft room videos that these guys were sending me while I was on vacation, I thought were extremely interesting. And I was going to cut them up, put them on here, didn't get around to it. The first one that I want to talk about is the Panthers making that trade with the Rams. The Rams came up and got Braden Fisk, and the Panthers moved back to 52. I think eventually moved up, got Jonathan Brooks at pick 46 or something like that, but they moved back to 52, and they got next year's second. And listening to the deals, like how excited they are in this situation where it's like the Panthers actually seem to be like making some good moves. Like I look at it and I go like, so what's the one thing that's not working out there? And it just seems to be the ownership. It was the guy before David Tepper. I forget who it was. Was it Richardson? Yeah. And now to Tepper, like they've been to 2 Super Bowls in this organization's history. Like they do things right. Like you're looking at it. Somebody calls them and says, hey, you only have to drop back like 13 positions and you're getting a second next year when you didn't have a second. It's like, how fast can I say yes to this deal, which they do. And the GM almost kind of like the look on his face is like, is this for like the guy shows him the text message. He's like, is this for real? Like, wait, we get this year's 52 and a second next year. Like, what did you guys think of this one for the Panthers? Like you guys would have done this move, right? Like there was nobody on the board that you were like, hey, we got to have Chris Jenkins or like somebody who is still like Mikey Sanders was still on the board, I believe. Adonai Mitchell was still on the board, but they had already drafted Xavier Legette at the end. You guys would have made this move. Like, what did you guys think of this video?
Well, here's the thing, Tony, that we're actually forgetting. Like, this isn't like you're looking at just the Panthers and the Rams, right? And anybody in their right mind accepts this trade in a heartbeat before they change it. I'm giving you 39, number 39. You're giving me 52, 155, and a second round pick next year. Yes, I'm taking this deal. We're done with it. I don't care who's on the board left. We're taking this deal. You're going to win that deal 100% of the time, no matter what. But the bigger picture is the Rams were shopping that number, that 52nd pick to basically everybody in the NFL. Like there's a lot of videos that have come out of the Rams going, hey, we want to move here, but we'll give you 52. Like if you go back and look at the first round, the videos of the Rams in the first round where they're calling everybody in the top 10 or the Raiders or somebody trying to move up for Brock Bowers, they go, we'll give you 19 and 52. Like 52 was the draft pick that they were willing to. If they really wanted somebody else, why didn't they offer that second round pick and move up in the first round too? Like that's like I'm trying to wrap my mind around that. If they really thought, like, if they make it seem like Brock Bowers was the guy that the Rams really wanted, that McVay really wanted, why didn't they throw that second round pick in earlier to move up? I bet you could have got the Jets to move back if you wanted to, from 10 to 19, and then give me 2 second round picks, one next year, one this year. I bet the Jets would have took that deal. I bet you that they would have sweetened it up. They would have had Brock Bowers on their team right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I knew they were after Bowers, but yeah, like Bowers in the McVay offense, to kind of taking over the Cooper Kupp role, sort of playing that, like, read the coverage, read the leverage, know where he's got to be. Like, I think he would really thrive in that sort of offense. And now he's just in a wasteland. So
exactly.
About that.
I was about to say, I want that to rewind time here. Go get in Joe Douglas's ear, like, bro, take the deal, move back. You probably still would have gotten what you wanted back. Where were they at? 19 or 20? You would have had to move back like 8 spots to get the extra second round pick. Even before you throw in another second round pick, should have taken the damn deal. Should have done it.
Well, they offered it.
Drafted Brock Bowers. You kind of. I mean, it was fun to see Joe like confused and mad and stuff, but I didn't want to see Brock Bowers go to the Raiders. I would have rather gotten Joe happy with whoever and Brock Bowers not be a Raider for sure.
Well, they offered it. You see the video of Joe Douglas turning it down. Like they really wanted their offensive lineman or whatever it was. But I mean, with all the shit that's going on with the Jets right now, I think that trade would have benefited them as right now. There's more to go. We're not gonna. Aaron Rodgers not showing up to minicamp. They made a trade for Reddick, who told them, "I'll be there." Then he realized, oh, the other defensive linemen are not there. You got rid of Huff and all them. Now I have the leverage, and I'm not going to show up. The Jets have drama right now. They could have made that move and been good.
Aaron Rodgers missed 1 day of practice, 2 days, I think.
Yeah,
total.
I mean. They're your Jets, Mike. They're your Jets. It's fine.
Hassan Reddick is just in a contract negotiation, like any edge rusher in a contract negotiation, and not practicing.
I think history will show us having a bunch of new offensive linemen trying to figure it out on the fly to protect a 40-year-old quarterback. Those type of things, they tend to work out really good for the team and the organization. So,
well, I am also on top of it. I'm kind of on both sides of the fence here. Should have done the trade back. Should have made it happen.
Yes.
Maximize the picks, or just stay there and draft Brock Bowers. What was wrong with that, New York? You guys couldn't have done that. That would have been helpful.
Absolutely not. I am totally against that. Fashanu, an offensive lineman, is what the Jets needed. They did not need Brock Bowers. They need to get the offensive line right. And I think Fashanu.
As much as I'm rooting for the Jets to just make you guys look completely stupid,
yeah,
I honestly don't care about them that much. I don't want Brock Bowers to be with the Raiders at all. Please, no.
That's the thing is I don't want anybody to be on the Raiders or the Chiefs. So the issue is like I kind of got to pick my poison. As long as they didn't take any of the good Michigan players or like my favorite wide receivers, then I was okay.
It's like the Bills fans. The Bills fans were freaking out with me, like, "Come on, man, we weren't going to draft Xavier Worthy. That was a great deal." I was like, "There is no good deal in dealing with those motherfuckers. There is no good deal. You'd never win the deal when you're dealing with the Chiefs."
So the one thing you got out of all the draft videos that we watch, right? And I love it. This is what, as an NFL fan growing up, I've always wanted to be a fly on the wall. Well, I'm a big ass fly on the wall in the draft room, like right in the war room. Like I think that's any NFL fan. Like you want to know what's going on inside the war room. You want to see, like, because they always put out that bullshit. Like Mike was our number one pick the whole time. We were looking at it and we were like, we're 10 pick. We got the 10th pick and we want Mike. Bullshit. You know, there was 3 people ahead of him that they were like, fuck, we missed out on him. We missed out on Tony. Like, we want this guy. I would love to see their rankings and how they actually rank people. That would be the one thing. So these little videos that come out of the war room of what's going on, it's awesome. But the one thing you're learning, and so I think one of the general managers said, it's hard. Teams are not willing to trade back as much. Like, they don't want to be that one that made a mistake. Like, I traded back and missed out on this generational talent, and he went above me. So you're looking at it both different, different ways. Like, this guy's trying to move up. Why is he trying to move up? I want that player. If everybody's trying to fight for that guy, I don't want to be the general manager that screwed up on that.
Yes, which leads us into a great spot to talk about the video of Ryan Poles calling the Falcons. So the Falcons have so much sunk into Michael Penix, because when I saw this, I was like, wait, a team that is asking you if you want to go back 1 pick and they're going to give you a 4th round pick like that, and your team can use picks, can use players, can use more of shots, lottery tickets, and you're telling me you thought maybe that the Bears were going to get there and draft a 2nd QB? They already drafted Caleb Williams at 1, so you could go back 1 spot. They're moving up to get their player, unless you think Ryan Poles is such an evil genius that he was going to trade up 1 spot and then trade a bigger package with another team to come up and steal Penix Jr. from you. Like, I can't believe that they stayed and took Michael Penix in that spot when they had an opportunity to go back 1 and get another draft pick out of it. Like, and because you already gave Kirk Cousins all this money. So worst case scenario is they take Michael Penix and then you just draft the best D lineman or the best cornerback or the best, any defensive player was on the board. Latu, Turner, like, you could have went any direction. Like, I just couldn't. I was watching that video and Ryan Poles is like, yeah, so we did something similar with Philly last year. No, you're not interested? Okay. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Atlanta, make the deal. Even though I already knew the end of the movie, I was already like, no, Atlanta, make the deal. Make the deal.
It just makes the Falcons draft day even dumber, right? Like, when you saw that one, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like you said, you got a free 4th round pick. He drops. Now, and you save just a little bit of money because each slot has, what they're worth. You could have probably saved $1 or $2 million by dropping down a little bit. It's like, and you still get the same guy that you wanted. And Tony, not even that. Not only did they draft Michael Penix when they gave a lot of money to Kirk Cousins, right? They gave up the 4th round pick, or they gave up getting the chance of getting the 4th round pick by moving 1. They also got hit by the NFL for talking to Kirk Cousins and other players and so they lost a 5th round pick. So, like, the Atlanta Falcons front office, like, I don't know, it's hilarious of what's going on in there.
They need Michael Penix, that pick, to hit so bad, or it's going to be one of those things where there's going to be a documentary, an hour-long documentary made on the fumble that they did. Because not only that, they passed on Bill Belichick. If Belichick comes back and coaches a team next year and he's dominant, so like everything, the Falcons are going to be under such a microscope of how this offseason has gone. And I root for the Falcons. You guys know this. And I'm a big fan of Michael Penix. Like, I think that's a good pick. I wouldn't have fully gone this route about it, but I think it's a really good pick. I like Michael Penix. Mike, go ahead.
Now you guys summed it all up. The Falcons are playing with fire and lighting themselves on fucking fire pretty much at this point. But the funny thing is, Tony, is that if the Bears would have done what the Falcons are worried about them doing, then that would have saved the Falcons from looking like the idiots of the draft. And the Bears would have been the idiots of the draft with 2 quarterbacks inside the top 10 picks. They would have been idiots. You would have saved yourself some pain and misery there. And like you guys were saying, every defensive player on the board, and that probably was the smarter way to go anyways. So you might have accidentally stumbled yourself into a better situation. So, and the craziest part about it all is I am super high on the Falcons. Like, I think this is one of the young, most talented teams, especially offensively, in the league. And now you get a veteran quarterback in there. I think Bijan Robinson's going to be absolutely phenomenal this year. but how much better could they be if they were just using these types of situations to get just a little bit better? That extra player helps you to get just a little bit better. And that first round pick they used on a backup quarterback may help you get a lot better. But at minimum, you get the 4th round pick. Maybe that guy could help your defense just a little bit.
Yeah, you put Latu on the Atlanta Falcons right now. Yeah, I think they have the division locked up.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of where I'm at. The Penix pick made me lean a little. I was kind of Bucks Falcons back and forth as I'm like going through, and I start to put together preliminary for our division ranking show later in the summer, and I've kind of floated back and forth. And that the more I look at it, it's like you could have gotten a real like difference maker potentially, like in that top at that pick at number 8, and you didn't. You got a guy that is maybe the best backup QB in the league, but if things go according to plan, he won't see the field. And you could have had a guy that could have, had 45 pressures and 8.5 sacks or something like that. And that's
get someone to line up outside, man. AJ Terrell fell off a cliff. He probably would be a better slot corner with his build anyways. Get someone you can put outside so that way AJ can move in. And then people forget they have Jesse Bates over the top. Like they could have formed a decent secondary with just one pick.
I agree. Like AJ Terrell, I think is going to play really well in the way Raheem Morris plays defense. I think AJ Terrell is going to have a nice bounce back season. So if you get him and then you go get Quinyon Mitchell, right? Or maybe you like Terrion Arnold, I don't know. You get one of those guys, Nate Wiggins. It's different. Anyways, the last video that they sent that I wanted to talk about briefly, and this is more just like it was really long, but Adam Peters calls Howie Roseman a pain in the ass, right? And that's one of those things where that is the nicest way of describing his true feelings about him, because he knows there's like 15 cameras on him. Like there's probably one that's like currently like the NFL's like, yeah, we're biopsying that, or we're like monitoring their insides too. Like they have so many cameras on these guys. Like we're getting complete coverage of them. And he's like, well, he's like, oh, you're such a pain in the ass. I'm sure when those cameras were off and they were in a room where, Washington had all the, no more filming for commanders.com or whatever. He's like, bleep, 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 bleep. Howie Roseman's, like the things that these guys would say, because we all know what it is. When the cameras shut off, it's like we're willing to say things a little bit, more honestly, aggressively, more vulgar or whatever. Like, I don't know about Joe, but I am definitely that way. Like I just heard it and I was like, I want to know Adam Peters' real feelings on dealing with him, because calling somebody a pain in the ass is the nicest way of saying like, I hate you. Like, I can't believe that you're somebody that I have to deal with, because he's trying to, and the deal is like great. Like I thought the deal was like beneficial to both sides, and how he's like, oh, actually, I need this from you too. And it's like, no, why are you being so damn greedy? Like, I have 2 minutes left on the clock. He's like, we'll make this pick. And then Howie calls him back and it's like, yeah, you know what? We'll take that original deal that we got. If I understood the video properly.
Yeah.
No, that's right.
But like, that's how I understood it. Howie makes him sweat it out all the way to like 90 seconds left on the clock, and calls him back, goes, yeah, you know what? It's a good deal. We'll take it. It's like,
but
it's funny because
that's the way that division rivals should be treating each other, Tony. He's a division rival. Get a little bit more.
But I would have really wanted to hear what Adam Peters had to say. Mike, go ahead.
I was just going to say that it's a ton of fun to see this kind of stuff, especially with these two going at it, division rivals. They're real close to each other. They got to go at it. And by the way, Adam Peters, if you intend on being the long-term GM of the Washington Commanders, I don't think Howie Roseman's going anywhere. So just have fun with that for maybe a decade to come. But it's a lot of fun to see this stuff kind of unfold, because this is how I negotiate my trades for fantasy football. So this is probably how I would do it if I was the GM too. I'm constantly going around getting, offers to leverage against other offers, getting deals to offer against this, waiting until the last minute to do deals. Literally, I think me and Tony have done trades seconds before drafts have started in the past. Like, this is the fun of it. This is probably what's really fun about being a GM is how you can kind of play the game as you will. Not to quote Triple H.
I'm a little more less Snead, where it's like I will overpay for something that I want.
Yeah.
Like I don't care.
CeeDee Lamb for Herbert. We still got to do that.
Yeah. CD. Well, you're getting CD. You're either getting CD and Anthony Richardson or CD and a running back. One of the two. Like it's your choice. But
I think I'll probably take Richardson and CD.
Yeah. So you're gonna get a package that most people are going to look at on the internet when you say, "Look at what I just got," and they're gonna say, "Who's the idiot who traded for Justin Herbert when the team's about to run the ball 56% of the time?" But
that's the kind of offer it takes to get Herbert off of a person with a Justin Herbert billboard in his house, Tony.
Yeah.
See, that's the difference there. Like, if I was the GM and I'm there, like, say you hire me right now as the Washington Commanders GM instead of Adam Peters, like, I'm going to get Keenan Allen. He already got Austin Eckler. Like, I'm putting together the dream team to win 7 games again this year.
This is the perfect segue into we're each going to give the list of our top 12 fantasy QBs this year, who we would draft, in what order. I broke mine down a little bit too into a sort of round, but I don't need to go into that depth. We can maybe talk about that later. I'm going to start with 1 through 6. My number 1, Patrick Mahomes. I think this is going to be going back to closer to the 50 touchdown season we saw. Number 2, Josh Allen. Number 3, Lamar Jackson. Number 4, Anthony Richardson. Number 5, Kyler Murray. Number 6, Jalen Hurts.
Wait, go over it one more time, Tony. By the way, guys, for those of you who tuned in, the fantasy quarterbacks, I've seen some people get confused. We're talking about fantasy quarterbacks, not just our overall rankings. But number 1 was Mahomes with the 50 touchdown season, huh?
I'm saying getting close, getting back to that. So Patrick Mahomes 40, at number
45.
1. Yeah, I'm saying 45. Like I really do think that because we're sleeping on Hollywood Brown. Like, he's had some really good seasons without quarterbacks that are as, gifted as Patrick Mahomes and without offensive minds that are as strong as Andy Reid. So I think he's got a great year. I think Kelsey still has a lot left in the tank. And then if Xavier Worthy can hit, if Rashee Rice can stay on the straight and narrow, like he's gonna be able to figure it out. So Patrick Mahomes 1, Josh Allen 2, Lamar Jackson 3, Anthony Richardson 4, Kyler Murray at 5, number 6, Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts is a little bit lower than some of the consensus stuff that I saw when I was doing my rankings, but I just think Saquon Barkley, at some point, there has to be a running back that's going to eat a little bit of that fantasy value, and I think Saquon Barkley is the guy that could do that to some of the rushing that Hurts has done in the past. And also too, like, keep the guy upright. Stop using him as a battering ram and smashing all over the field.
I'm surprised you have Richardson and Kyler so high.
So part of my ranking for fantasy football, and when I do this stuff, is I'm going to take bigger shots. And I think both of those guys, the rushing value that they can have is something that I'm willing to invest in that high. I think there's safer plays when you start getting down towards Burrow and Dak and stuff like that. But if I'm really going to take a shot on a QB that high, I'm usually going for somebody that I think could hit 600 yards rushing and 10 rushing touchdowns.
I can see it. Joe, any reaction here? You petting a dog?
My only reaction is, holy crap, my top 6 is going to be a lot different than Tony.
Well, give it, Joe. Give your top 6.
It's all good.
Well, I think we're both the same at number 1 because I wrote yours down. So I have Mahomes at number 1 if you're taking it, just because of the potential that he has and how good he is. You never know, right? I have Lamar at number 2, Lamar Jackson number 2, because that running potential and everything that's going on. Number 3, I have a surprise for you. And then, like you said, we're talking about fantasy football, guys that are going to put up the points. Tua. I have Tua at number 3 because of that offense and what he did last year in there. He's going to throw touchdowns. You know that this is a team that gets down to the in the red zone and they're throwing to their guys. They're looking for their wide receivers. So that's a touchdown right there. Touchdown machine. Number 4, I have Burrow. Number 5, I have Jordan Love. And at number 6, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 6, I have Josh Allen. I have Josh Allen dropping.
Let me ask you about this. You said Burrow and Love up this high. Are you expecting like 40+ touchdowns for both of these guys?
Yeah, because who's the running back in Cincinnati right now? Chase Brown, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So, I mean, are they really going to let him steal the touchdowns away? No, it's going to be Joe Burrow scoring those touchdowns. And Jordan Love, you saw what that offense could do last year, and they added the running backs. They got better at the running back position with both Josh Jacobs and Lloyd back there that can catch out of the backfield. I think Jordan Love's game is going to go up just a little bit more this year as they're going to trust him even more with that ball back.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say they got better. I think maybe healthier. Aaron Jones has really struggled with some hamstring injuries over the past couple of years, but I think Aaron Jones has been a top 6 back for a while. He just needs to stay healthier. Mike, go ahead. Top 6. What's up, Harrison?
I just can't get over the Tua thing. I don't even think Tua finished top 10 last.
Oh
year.
yeah, I forgot. We're going to go back. We're going to talk about Tua more later.
Yeah. Where did he finish last? Oh, he did finish 10th last year. Exactly. But he had all 17 games. A lot of these guys didn't play the last game. But yeah, I don't even have Tua in my top 12. That's why that one caught me so off guard. And then Josh Allen has scored more than 400 points in a season now, 5 straight years. He's finished in the top 2 fantasy quarterbacks 5 straight years. He's played every single game 5 straight years. Josh Allen's the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football right now over the last 5 years. I think he's going to be the number 1 quarterback again this year. I do think that there's an argument for Mahomes and these guys to be there, but without an injury, I trust Josh Allen's rushing ability, even without Stephon Diggs, to still put up similar numbers, maybe even be a little bit more efficient now. Less turnovers, hopefully. But I have Patrick Mahomes at 2. Similar reasons to you guys, just kind of in denial about it. Still not a big fan of the Hollywood Brown move. I think Hollywood Brown also, not only all those things you said about him, Tony, he's also coming into his prime as a wide receiver, both mentally and maturity, and, you know, crossing that bridge with athleticism, all coming together at the perfect time to join the Chiefs on a discount deal because you've been playing in bad spots and had a few hamstring injuries. I have Lamar Jackson at 3. Easy choice. Last year's MVP. I think he finished QB2 last year. I have Jalen Hurts at 4. I do think similar things that you're thinking with Jalen Hurts with Saquon Barkley. But when you look at the splits, I mean, he's been coming in the top 3 pretty comfortably every single year. So even if he drops off a little, I think he's still going to be right there in the top 5 range. I have CJ Stroud at 5, which I don't think he made either one of your guys' list.
He didn't make my top 5. No, top 6. No.
Even though they got Joe Mixon there, I think they're still going to throw it all over the football field. I think Joe Mixon's only going to help them add a very good screen game out of the backfield in the passing game as well. And then at 6, you can't disrespect this guy. He's going to put up numbers if he's healthy, no matter what the contract situation is. It's Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott at 6. He's finished in the top 5 the last couple of years that he's been healthy. I think 2 years ago he missed some games. But he's been pretty steady as far as a fantasy football producer, someone you can trust to take in those later rounds. You don't have to take him with a premier pick as well. And he still finishes top 10 on repeat. So I got Dak at 6. My list again was Josh Allen at 1, Patrick Mahomes at 2, Lamar Jackson at 3, 4, Jalen Hurts, 5, CJ Stroud, and at 6, Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Coda.
So I think like for me and the things I'm noticing difference in the list for me is like when I do my rankings, I'm not going I will put in the risk, the upside of what it is, right? Like having Anthony Richardson in on my list at number 4 is like, he's already kind of shown us what he can do. The biggest issue was staying healthy. So we're at that spot where it's like, you're taking a massive risk. Like, did he learn anything from year 1 in the NFL about sliding, about taking care of his body, not doing all that stuff? So it's like, can we get to a point where we have Anthony Richardson being top 2, 3 fantasy football quarterback? Absolutely. And I'm willing to gamble at that at the 4th overall pick, where I do think the safer option would be CJ Stroud, but I would shoot for the upside of, 10 rushing touchdowns and 30 passing touchdowns with 650 yards rushing from Anthony Richardson, as opposed to, like where CJ Stroud, I think sort of in that ceiling is like 4 or 5. I think Anthony Richardson could be number 1.
Yeah, on my list, I'm just going for who's been consistently performing to try and predict who's going to continue to consistently perform. And then there's some situations where I raise people in rankings for the same thing as you, Tony, where there's that upside or there's that ceiling. But I'm trying to predict who will be the highest scoring to who will be the 12th highest scoring. Never going to get it right. OJ Raider saying Dak at 6 is wild. I mean, OJ Raider, go to your Googles. Google real quick. Top 5 fantasy quarterbacks last season. I bet you Dak shows up on the list. Just a hunch. I didn't even look at it very closely. Why is Harrison just throwing shade at the Chargers for no reason? Harrison, we never came at you. We didn't even say hi. Nothing like that. Is that why? Because we didn't say hi.
I said hi as soon as he jumped in. I said as hi as soon as he said, "What's up?"
He just came in here and was just like, "By the way, Chargers suck." Like, where did that come from?
I welcome the hot take. This is a terrible take by Harrison. This also reflects glaringly on the fact that he's a Panthers fan. It's a true indictment on his NFL fandom and apparently knowledge of everything that's going on with the NFL.
Tony, I'm kind of surprised that you're not higher on CJ Stroud.
So that is a great segue, Mike, because CJ Stroud for me is number 7. And I do think that he's at that spot for me at number 7, where I would take from CJ Stroud to number 1. I would take all of these quarterbacks at somewhere before the end of round 5, right? Where I would feel comfortable. I think after that, it's like, I think you can wait and still get similar risk, similar value going later. So I have CJ Stroud at 7. I got Herb at 8. I got Joe Burrow at 9, Dak Prescott at 10, Tua at 11, and Jordan Love at 12. I think that once I get into this area here, I start to become a little bit more comfortable with waiting for a guy like Tua. I didn't mention Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff. You start getting into a point where like it's better to get a third running back or getting a third or fourth wide receiver, making sure that you get taking a shot at a tight end that you think might, have like a real impact. And then you can start to wait for those quarterbacks from anywhere from 10 to 16 even, because I made it through my top 15 and I don't even have Trevor Lawrence in the top 15 of mine. And it's like, if you told me that I waited until the end and Trevor Lawrence is there in round 13, like I would feel great about starting him as my quarterback and pairing him with my sleeper, which I'm sure not many people are going to draft this guy. But last year, I'll toot my horn when we get to the sleeper portion of the show. Let's see who's next. Joe, go 7 through 12, please.
Number 7, I got Jalen Hurts. Number 8, I got Justin Herbert. Number 9, Jared Goff. Number 10, Dak Prescott. 11, Matthew Stafford. Number 12, CJ Stroud. That's my top 12.
I love that shout out for Stafford. Stafford, again, he did not make my top 15. Another guy that if I'm there in round 13 and I just waited on quarterback the whole time, like I would take Stafford. My issue there is I think that this offense is going to go back through the run game, like the Todd Gurley days. Like, look at the investments they made in really beefing up the guard center guard for running. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of that. As to where then we're kind of relying a lot on Matthew Stafford having 35 touchdowns. There's not going to be anything really running there. So that is the only part that like has me a little bit worried as to where, like, for me, I think Jordan Love is going to give you some rushing yards, rushing TDs. I think that a guy like Tua has a chance to throw 40 plus touchdowns this year. And Stafford could too. I mean, the Rams offense is going to be good. I just think if you have Kyron Williams, you draft my guy Blake Corum, I think the rushing attack is going to be a real emphasis for this version of the Rams.
See, I just have a hard time ranking quarterbacks in fantasy because I don't like using the draft position, like you said. I don't like drafting quarterbacks early. Everybody who's been in leagues with me know I wait until late round to draft quarterbacks. I last year I made the mistake and I was like, you know what, I'll try to be like one of these guys, and I took Justin Herbert early and it burned me. And I'm not gonna do it again. Like I've always waited. I think in our Las Vegas one, I think I took Dak Prescott in the 11th round. He kept falling, and if you read your board 100% correct, and you see, hey, everybody else has taken quarterbacks already, and you feel comfortable dropping, you might as well wait. Like if you're, I mean, the taking Patrick Mahomes like in a top, like even if he is the number one guy, how much more talent are you giving up on the rest of your roster in fantasy football? Like we're talking about fantasy football, like you're giving up extra points somewhere else that you could have had, and I can make them up on a quarterback position, in my opinion, in my own.
I agree, and that's why I tend to wait. Last year, I did not. I was aggressive on Herbert too last year, and I ended up having to really
Eat that one.
wiggle in some of these leagues to make the playoffs. Mike,
It's just so much easier to replace a quarterback late in the season than it is to replace some of these other spots, man. Especially if it's like a top wide receiver, like you're saying, Joe, in the first 3 rounds. If you guys force my hand to take a quarterback, I will. Like there was one of the years in the Vegas league where it was at the 3rd to 4th round turn, and I was able to like get a combination of Josh Allen in the 3rd round and then someone else in the 2nd round and in the 4th round. I still really liked at that position. Like if you force me to draft Josh Allen late in the 3rd round, heading into the 4th round, when I know I have another pick about to go down, okay, maybe I might pull the trigger on it. But typically I'm with you guys, and I'm willing to wait because we haven't even brought his name up yet. But even a guy who gets a lot of stats like Baker Mayfield or Brock Purdy, like these guys get a lot of numbers. I'm completely fine with taking a high risk guy with high upside that people are avoiding with a safe guy. So I got both. I got both my high upside play in case things go right throughout the season, and I have my safe play. Okay, I need 20 points each week. The high risk guy didn't work out. We're rocking with this person. And I'm going to try and roll the dice even more this year, I think, on guys like Anthony Richardson, like you're saying, Tony. But you want me to finish mine real quick?
Yep, 7 through 12.
Yeah, so picking up at 7, I finished off my list at 6 was Dak, and then at 7, I have Joe Burrow. I think that as long as he's healthy, he's going to be a top fantasy performer. That offense is going to go through the air. And you guys saw T. Higgins. We didn't even talk about it. He signed a 1-year deal with the Bengals, kind of like a franchise tag situation, but at the end, it's done. So we'll see what happens there. But it seems like T. Higgins intending on playing on a fully guaranteed 1-year contract with the Bengals this year. So he'll have T. Higgins. He'll have Jamar Chase. You'll have some of these other youngsters that people don't even know about that are coming up in the Cincinnati weapon core. Justin Herbert at 8. This has been disrespectful how bad it's gotten with Justin Herbert. And I know we're going to talk about sleepers here in a minute, but Justin Herbert damn near is becoming a sleeper. I've seen him ranked at QB 15 on some of these expert lists. I've seen his ADP, estimated as low as 136. That's going to change. I think we're talking about round 10. That's going to come up a ton, but this is getting kind of ridiculous with everyone thinking that the Chargers are all of a sudden going to be the lowest passing team in the league. Like they're going to only pass the ball 28 times a game or something, or 25 times a game. Someone even told me, oh, they're only going to pass the ball 22 times per game. A fantasy expert, by the way, told me this. Y'all realize I'll be last in the league in like 2010? Like 22 times is not even possible in a game. If we had freaking Easton Stick out there, he's going to throw it more than 22 times a game. You guys are being very dramatic. I think Justin Herbert's going to have a fine year. He's going to have another 35 total touchdown season. And he has a chance to put up another 4,500 yards easily. It's just going to be more efficient. It's going to be less so 50 times a game he's passing the ball. And it'll work out.
You can get, Mike. He is
it'll work out. Well, he himself is efficient. Everything that's been around him has not been very efficient. And then at 9, I have someone who I think, has potential to finish as high as QB3 this year. He finished in the top 5 last year. Quietly, a lot of people weren't paying attention to Jordan Love. And there's probably an argument to move Jordan Love even higher up on this list. At 10, I have Anthony Richardson. And then at 11, I have Kyler Murray. Thinking the exact same thing as you, Tony, just not as high as my top 5. And then at 12, I snuck him in here. just because he's been a guy that's produced in the past. Put him in this offense. He's probably going to put up decent enough numbers for you to use in any given week as Kirk Cousins. And then at 13, I had Purdy. 14, I had Goff. And 15, I had Mayfield to round it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the reason why you wait on quarterback is just those last three names that you rattled off. Because I have Caleb Williams at 15.
Yeah, he's still there.
We've got Brock Purdy. Trevor, like I said, Trevor Lawrence is in there.
You may throw a sleeper at you, Tony, that I think people will laugh at me right now for, but I think he'll be a very good quarterback this year.
Yeah, let's go. I wonder if it's the same as mine.
Don't say it.
Sam Darnold.
Okay. All right. Okay. I didn't see Sammy D coming, but I like it. Go, Joe. Elaborate.
If you're high on Justin Jefferson, who's throwing him the damn ball? Who's throwing him the ball? You can't be high on a wide receiver and be like, I'm taking this wide receiver in the top 5. If I'm drafted in the top 5, I'm taking him. You can't be that high on him if you're a quarterback. If the guy who's throwing him the damn ball is not there.
So, Harrison, you're starting to say some real outrageous stuff. Herbert to the Raiders. Get the fuck out of here. I would say that I think it's 2 receivers. If you're really high on 2 receivers, because we've seen a place where one receiver can really thrive and you don't need to be that high. But I remember there was rankings a couple of years ago where I forget who it was, but he sent us his rankings to debate on one of our shows. And he had Tyreek Hill at 1 and Jalen Waddle at number 8, but then he had 2 at QB 22. That cannot work that way. So I think 1 can, but if you're a big believer in Jordan Addison, which we both are, TJ Hawkinson is there, and a play caller like Kevin O'Connell, what he was able to do with Josh Dobbs and stuff like that, and in a running game that I think has a chance to be absolutely outstanding. If Aaron Jones is healthy, Ty Chandler can be a number 1 running back in this league. Like, he's a really good football player, runs really hard, and I think that the Vikings could have a very dynamic offense. It's more of what happens with the defensive side. I think this is Sam Darnold's year. There's a couple of these guys. We talked about Hollywood Brown, a chance to where they could really go out and make themselves a lot of money, find new homes next year with really big contracts and opportunities. And Sam Darnold is one of them. I like this sleeper, Joe. Like, I'm a fan of, if he's going undrafted in a lot of these leagues, like, why not, if you wait on QB and you draft a guy like Jared Goff, why not pair him with Sam Darnold and just sort of play the matchups with those 2 guys on your team? It's better than having a second tight end or something like that.
Yeah, we're not talking about like taking Sam Darnold as your number 1 guy. But if you took somebody like and they get hurt or something, and you have Sam Darnold sitting on the bench, and as the season progresses, he's becoming that guy that just puts up points every week. It's worth it, right? Because you're looking at touchdowns. Like, how many touchdowns do you think they're going to throw a game? 2, 3. Minnesota on a good day, if their offense is hitting, like those you're just racking up points. And Tony, even if they don't have a defense, say they're losing, and they get a lot of garbage time points. Garbage time points rack up too.
They still count. They still count. The biggest worry with Sammy D is you got to keep throwing. You got to keep it going to the right team, Sam. That's the biggest thing. This dude throws a lot of passes that are dangerous, and a lot of them get intercepted. A lot of them get intercepted.
We talked about this on the show a couple of weeks ago, where I was listening. I forget who it was, but he said Sam Darnold came in the league, had Adam Gase as a coach, and he was like, "Hey, run the Peyton Manning offense." Not a great thing. And then goes to Matt Rule, and Matt Rule's like, "Oh, like, here, this is going to be all on you." Last year was the first year where he got like really good, strong coaching support being in San Francisco. And I think that'll carry over. I think he can have a really good season this year. I root for Sam Darnold just because he's been the punchline of a lot of stuff, but it's like quarterback's super hard. And then you go and play for an organization like the Jets. Like, nobody succeeds with the Jets. Like, Pennington, Favre had an 11-game stretch before he tore his rotator cuff. Like, I think Aaron Rodgers will probably be pretty successful this year, but like, no young guys ever have a ton of success there. So it's like, that's not a recipe to have a good start to your NFL career. And I think it'll be different for him in Minnesota. And I think he should be the starter and will be the starter. There he is. Look at me. I'm Sammy D.
All the
You got a
reports right now,
sleeper?
Tony. All the reports right now, Tony, are saying that he's kind of safely in that spot.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
that QB1 spot to start the year, and he'd have to lose it. So
it's
JJ will be-
definitely beneficial. We're going to talk more about the Vikings in a minute too, so I don't want to spend too much more time on this.
Okay.
Mike, you have a sleeper. Who's somebody you're looking at?
kind of a sleeper, not really a sleeper. Hard to find a sleeper for this year because everyone's so jumbled up as far as the quarterbacks go. I have him at QB 15, but I've seen him outside the top 20 in most of the rankings. I think Baker Mayfield is going to be a solid play week in, week out. He's going to be consistent. He's still got the weapons there. Godwin, Evans, Kate Otton's got another year under his belt, and he's a sneaky tight end. I think what Rachaad White did out of the backfield, only going to call for more work for him in the receiving game and getting Mayfield some easy points as well. He's going to have a bunch of 300-yard, 3-touchdown games again this year. And Mayfield's really shown that he's kind of turned into a jack-of-all-trades QB. He can just be the game manager you need him to be, but then if you find yourself down, he can also stand in there and let it rip. So I was never a big Baker Mayfield fan, especially in Cleveland coming up. I never really was. I like the way he plays. He's fun to watch. Just never thought he elevated teams to the next level at that time. Now he's starting to kind of show that he could be a solid quarterback in this league. So I'm playing him as my sleeper. He's a guy that I like to stash as like my safe pick with Kyler Murray, with Anthony Richardson, with Jordan Love, who I took a stab at earlier in the draft.
So, two things about this. Liam Cohen came over from the Rams. If he has an offense that's similar to McVay, if that's what's implemented, I think that can be great for him, especially if they can figure out a way to unlock the running game. That can take Baker Mayfield's play actions to another level. Baker was almost my sleeper too for this list, but I went a little bit deeper.
Let me guess, Tony. I want to guess first.
Go ahead.
All right, so I have two people in mind that I think that you would consider a sleeper. That if I was Tony Tucker, this is mine. So one,
getting into this depraved mind, you don't want to be in there.
I was trying because I wanted to let you go, but I also wanted to try to guess and see about
go ahead.
Get in the mind of Tony Tucker because everybody dreams of being Tony Tucker one day, right? Everybody wants to be just like Tony Tucker. So in my mind, I have Will Levis or Jaden Daniels, two of the young guys.
I was going to say Jaden Daniels.
Mike gets Jaden Daniels. Joe, 100% correct. Because last year, I got laughed at when I said, everybody draft Sam Howell. If you go late on quarterback, put Sam Howell on the end of your bench. And what does he do? He ends up finishing like top 8 in fantasy. He stumbled a little bit for me in the fantasy playoffs, but I would not have made the playoffs in a couple of leagues where Anthony Richardson got hurt in Dynasty, and I was able to have Sam Howell as a fill in there. And Will Levis is my guy this year. Will Levis is going to have an opportunity to have a monster season. Like he's getting somebody who's come from a successful offense, whether he was a big factor or not a big factor in bringing in Brian Callahan. And they have done a job of bringing in veteran wide receiver like Tyler Boyd, who's going to know where he needs to be. They have DeAndre Hopkins. They sign a playmaker like Calvin Ridley. They bring in a good 1-2 punch in the backfield between Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard. And then you got Chigakonkwo, who's a playmaker. You can get him the ball in a short area and he can do the rest for you. Like, I think Will Levis could easily finish in the top 8 and he's going to be undrafted. He's going to go like QB 22, 24, something like that. And Will Levis will be the player that I think will be sought after by week 6, 7 in dynasty formats. People will start like snatching him up after the first couple weeks, seeing how that works out. And then in regular, like season-long fantasy, a redraft league, I forgot the name of it for a second, he's going to be a guy that people are going to be like, oh man, I'm tired of waiting on how this is going to work out for fill in the blank. Jared Goff isn't quite having the same amount of success, or, whoever you have, Kirk Cousins is stumbling, like Dak Prescott an injury here or there, like Will Levis, I believe, is the guy this year that he'll be my fill-in. He'll be my I drafted late. I'm going to pair Trevor Lawrence and Will Levis. Well, like if I go with a later strategy, that'll be it. It's going to be a winner.
That's probably another undrafted guy, Tony.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Will Levis will be there. Joe knows me. As soon as Joe's like, I want to guess this, I go, Joe's gonna know what direction I'm going. I just think that the Titans have put him in a position, offensive head coach, great offseason, lots of reliable weapons that all do different things. I didn't even mention if he can unlock Treylon Burks and sort of get him in some short area, quick yak potential spots, like Titans, I think, are going to be way better than we're giving them credit for. They still got a little bit of talent left on that defense where it's like if they figure out a few things on that end, I think the offensive line will be good with Callahan. Like, I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but I could see the Titans as like an 8-win team this year, and a lot of people are going to have them as like a 3 or 4-win team. I think they're going to be solid.
You're probably wondering how I knew, Tony, how I knew who you were going to pick. It's because I watched tape. I've been studying the tape, Tony. Been studying your tape, watching everything you've done over the last couple of years. I know, Tony. So tell the people, tell our head front office at MJT Studios, I need the raise. Take the Tony money, put it to me because I know exactly what Tony's going to say, and I can say it at the same.
I'm telling you guys, that's
why Joe's the flag football coach of the year, right, Joe? His tape studying skills. Well, speaking of tape, if you watch Will Levis's tape last year, you guys will kind of see what Tony's talking about. And this is coming from a big Will Levis doubter because I can't get over the mayonnaise thing. And I don't think I have gotten over the mayonnaise thing because even right now when you guys are talking about it, I'm kind of grossed out. But when I put on his tape, there's this one throw he made. I think it was to Robert Woods last year, right in between two defenders, like 40 yards down the field in the back of the end zone. It's just like this dude has the arm strength to do it all. It's just don't put a microphone in front of him because he sounds like Mac Jones and he eats mayonnaise in his coffee. Those two problems go away, he could be an elite quarterback in the league.
He's gonna give you 350 rushing yards this year and probably 5 or 6 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, he can move
in that area. Like
I've seen a few times where he trying to truck people. Like, bro, just go down, slide.
Hey, you forgot something about Will Levis, Mike.
The girlfriend thing?
You forgot the main thing. He's afraid of milk. You didn't know that? Will Levis is afraid of milk.
Is that why he eats mayo in the coffee?
Yeah, that's why he does that. So, if you were if he's going to an opposing team, say he's on a hot streak right now. Say Will Levis is 5 games into the season in week 6, whoever he's playing, he's throwing 5 touchdowns a game. If I'm the whole stadium, I'm handing out gallons of milk, and we're just holding it up right there the whole time.
This dude is fucking weird. He is gives me such serial killer vibes since the second I saw him on TV ahead of that draft. He's got all these fucking people around him. He's just sitting there looking all weird and creepy. And then sure enough, everything else has come out on him since then as far as personality-wise. He's weird and creepy. He just was born with a
Will Levis
is
deathly afraid of dairy milk.
Hilarious. You guys are hilarious.
I completely agree with you about with the football stuff, Tony, but he's ranked 30th for me just because of the Mayo thing.
So real quick before we get into the trivia section, Dynasty QB not named Caleb Williams. So you got the other 5 there. I added Bo Nix because of Sean Payton. I think there is an opportunity where Bo Nix could actually have a strong career in the NFL. But those other 5 guys, Jaden Daniels, Drake Maye, JJ McCarthy, Penix, and Bo Nix. If you had to draft one of these guys, Dynasty future, which one would you pick? I'll start with you, Joe.
I'm taking JJ just because he's the younger one, and the longer that I could wait on him, the better in that. But I'll throw one better at you, Tony. One that I might draft later in a dynasty draft. Like if all these other quarterbacks are going, it's Spencer Rattler.
Okay, I wouldn't go there, but yeah, I hear you. It's where the shot.
I'm taking shots in dynasty. You're taking shots.
Yeah, no.
I thought the Raiders were going to get Rattler, man. I thought the Raiders were going to get Rattler.
I'm glad that I don't like Spencer Rattler. I don't think there's reports that he's beating out Derek Carr, which is hilarious because any reports that come out of minicamps are funny. But I'm saying, if I'm taking a shot at somebody, that's all fantasy football is. It's just pure luck. You take I want a guy that's going to sit on my bench, and if he becomes something, I want to either be able to trade him for something good or play him and beat some people with it. And I look like a genius, but it's all fantasy football is nothing but luck.
Yeah. I mean, last year I had a chance to pick up either CJ Stroud or Sam Howell, and I went with Sam Howell, and I went the wrong direction in Dynasty. I made the playoffs because of Sam Howell, but like long term wise, I should have gone CJ Stroud, but I went with Sam Howell.
And we didn't even talk about Sam Howell in Seattle now. Maybe he might throw that rock around too and provide some more fantasy value for you, Tony.
Gino's still the guy. Like Gino's another guy where it's like he's in that 17, 18, 19 range where it's like he could figure it out. Who's up there now? Is it Waldron? I forget who the offensive coordinator. No, Waldron's in Chicago. I forget who the offensive coordinator is up there, but
I don't know who it is either.
Yeah, maybe Gino can get back to 2022. Gino.
Brian Grove.
For Dynasty, I think I would take Jaden Daniels. I wish Michael Penix would have landed somewhere where he doesn't have to sit for a few years. If you're a patient person, Penix probably has the most upside when it comes to who's going to put up the most fantasy points in a single season down the line here, along there with Daniels. Caleb Williams is obviously the answer that we just take off the board completely. I'll probably go Daniels if I'm picking quarterback. I honestly don't like the Dynasty class this year. I may be trading back. So if any of you guys want my pick.
I do. We'll talk about that off air though.
Another trade? Another trade?
Yeah. If we're talking like a true Dynasty where the rosters are bigger and you have taxi squad and stuff like that, JJ McCarthy is the guy that I would go with because you have more wiggle room, more opportunities to leave him on the bench for longer. If it's more like the league where the Dynasty league we're in, where it's keeper and we only get to keep 12 and we have limited roster sizes, I think Jaden is the guy. I think going Jaden Daniels in that spot, he's another player where it's like the offense around him is really good. It's going to be interesting to see how things work out with Cliff Kingsbury there. So those would be the two, but I
can't wait to watch. You know who I can't wait to watch play football, guys? Bo Nix. That's gonna be a lot of fun to watch.
I am not going to say anything bad about Bo Nix because I thought it was funny that where they drafted him so high like that, it just seems reeked of desperation. But also, like, he's going there with a coach that is proven he can get a lot out of QBs. And so I do not want to have – I'm not trying to jinx it. I hope he's just average. I hope the Broncos are just 7-win team, 8-win team for the next 20 years. But I could see
You just had a chance to revitalize a quarterback's career, Tony. It didn't go so great.
We knew that.
If Bo Nix would have went to the Denver Broncos in the second round, would you be saying anything about it?
Not as much.
I would have liked it a lot better.
I like to laugh at teams that draft like the 7th quarterback off the board in the first round. It's crazy to me. I know what you're doing because you're like, oh, and especially the Broncos. I don't think they had a second round pick. I'm not going to get a pick till way later.
I'm just saying.
Take him. But how could you need the quarterback that bad? How could you not sign a single veteran this offseason to fill in? Do they have anyone there? Zach Wilson is their current quarterback.
They have Wilson
right now. You couldn't go get someone that would relieve you for one season from having to draft QB 6 at 12th overall or wherever they picked him.
Yeah,
they tried that veteran way. They tried it. They had Mr. Unlimited. Unlimited.
They needed to tank. They should have just drafted a position player and gone ahead and been in the top 5 next year for a quarterback.
I think he really views Bo Nix as like a guy that, is going to work out great for him.
Who knows? Maybe.
Are you ready for this quiz, Mike?
I was born ready.
Wait, let's do it.
Oh, shit.
Hey, did you guys see that before we start? PFF ranked the Broncos as the worst roster in the NFL.
Not surprised.
Who ranked him there?
PFF.
Oof. Yeah, I could totally see it. I mean,
like
if you're
overall roster, they have the worst.
Yeah, if you're looking around and you're looking at playmakers on offense and you're looking at playmakers even on defense, like I could see how you would think that's not a super stacked roster. For me, it's like I just think Sean Payton's a good coach and he gets good results. Although sometimes I think a little overrated. I don't know. Mike, did you
Ready?
have you pulled your
Let's do
questions?
this.
Yes.
I'm ready. All right.
Okay.
So we have 3 games here that we could play. So it just depends on how quick you guys get through each one and just tell me when to stop. Okay. So which one should we do first?
Are we doing like a buzz-in situation, first person to know the answer, or are you asking us alternate questions? How are we doing that?
We could play each game differently. You guys could work on a team for some of these, and you could work against each
I'm
other.
looking for my bell. I can't find my
Let's
damn
do the
bell.
one where you go against each other first. So because
Okay.
I like Tony more, Tony will go first, and then Joe will go second. That's the rules. But here it is. You guys have to, and you get 1 guess per guess, and you get 1 point for getting it right first. But I'm going to ask you guys, who led the NFL in receiving yards in 6 random years? You guys keep guessing until you get it right. Okay.
In 6 who's
random years. So for example, let's just go last year, right? CeeDee Lamb led the NFL in receiving. So if it was for 2023, the correct answer would be CeeDee Lamb. The incorrect answers will be a bunch of other receivers that you could think of that played during that time that could have led in receiving that year, because we're going to go all the way back into the 80s. So that's the warning here. We're going to do 6 random seasons. So who led the NFL in receiving in each of these random seasons?
Okay.
With Tony first. You want to start oldest or newest?
Doesn't matter to me. I mean,
all right, we'll go 2019, Tony. And Joe, you could think of it while he's trying to answer, because if he gets it wrong, you can steal it from him.
Who led the league in 2019? That was
in yards.
In yards, I'm gonna go with.
You guys can try in the chat too, because they can't read, so they don't. No problem.
I'm gonna go with Devontae Adams.
Final answer.
2019.
Yeah.
That's wrong, Tony.
Damn it.
It's not.
That might have been the year he led in touchdowns, right, or something like that. But I don't know. 2019.
Try
to think. Was it Julio Jones?
Nope.
2019. That was
You're on, Tony.
What is it?
You're on, Tony. Just so you know, before you say what you're about to say, Justin Jefferson was drafted in 2020. Just throwing it out there.
So he's drafted in 2020. So that rookie class was. Damn it! Why can't I'm like drawing a blank on the 2019 draft class. Was that Josh Allen's or Josh Allen's 2018?
2018. The rookie class in 2019. Who was the top receiver in that class? I can't remember either. This is the entire league who led the entire league.
So I'm going to go with OBJ.
That's a good guess, though. That's someone that I would pick, but OBJ had already had his 1 catch and 5 1,500-yard seasons at this point.
Yeah.
But his 1 catch had already happened, and the rest of his career doesn't even fucking matter, Tony.
Joe gets a guess now?
Joe, go ahead. You guess Julio, wrong. You guess Devontae Adams, wrong. Who you got?
OBJ, wrong.
OBJ, wrong.
I got
OBJ was on the Browns at this point, Tony. That was obviously the wrong answer.
I couldn't remember if it was. I don't remember him being on the Browns in 2019 though, because that would have been Baker's 2019 would have been like Baker's rookie year, right? So he wasn't on his rookie season. I thought he got there. I thought OBJ was on there in 2020.
Want a hint?
Sure, you can give Joe a hint.
Conference is the NFC, Joe.
Okay, all right.
Well, I was leaning that way, but I don't think he's ever led it. I was gonna say Mike Evans.
No, it's not. Calvin Johnson.
Nope.
What?
You guys.
We suck.
Another hint? He does have the same name as Mike Evans. Same first name. Y'all can't remember to 2019. You ain't going to remember to the next ones. I'll tell you that right now. You are not going to get it. But you want the answer?
Yeah, I can't think of who it is
at all. It's Mike
I'm trying to think.
Thomas. You guys watch football? Michael Thomas?
You know what's funny?
Come on.
You know what's fucking funny is the Saints kept popping in my head, and I couldn't think of a wide receiver from the Saints, and I was like, no, it can't be the damn Saints. And so that's why I went with Mike Evans. But I was in the division. I was like NFC South.
Yeah.
When you said NFC, I was already thinking of NFC South.
Maybe also instead of just thinking about the receivers that were going off in the time frame, also think about the quarterbacks that were going off in that time frame for it to work out here. But 0 points.
That was a terrible start.
I get 1 point for that one.
Okay.
All right, we're going to 2011. Who led the NFL in receiving yards in 2011?
2011. I'm gonna go with Randy Moss.
Not correct. What? Was Moss in the Patriots at that point? I don't think so.
No, he would have been. Oh yeah, 2011. He would have been like out of the league.
Yeah.
Like not out of the league, but he was like already like
on the 49ers, like doing some twilight years.
He went to the 49ers. Terrible guess. 2011.
Joe, you got one? How old was Mike in 2011? 14.
I'm trying to think of who was good in 2011.
Only a few.
See, that's how old I am. I forget shit already, Tony. I forgot like what I did this morning, and let alone 2011.
Can I run off?
Yeah, let's just do that. If we think it's something, we'll go down.
Andre Johnson.
Nope.
Reggie Wayne.
No.
Ooh, Andre Johnson's a good one. I like that one. I forgot about that.
You want another hint?
Yeah.
No.
Did I already say his name once?
What about
Calvin Johnson? Yeah.
Oh, was it?
It was Megatron.
You know who I was gonna? I forgot about somebody.
You had him leading the league in 2019, Tony. I wish that Calvin Johnson was leading the league in 2019. That would be beautiful.
He might have been retired already because he's in the Hall of Fame.
He was retired already. All right.
I was gonna say Larry Fitzgerald. I forgot that.
Let's get a little bit more in your guys' era. All right. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna help at all.
Let's go to. Oh no, I skipped one. We're not going to your era yet. We're just going to like your guys' prime. 2005.
Okay. 2005. That would have been. Would that be the Randy Moss right there?
Not Randy Moss. No. I want you to just stab one, Tony. Just bam, right on the buzzer. First guess.
05 was
so. Chad Ochocinco was around there.
Yeah, that's good.
Not Chad. It's not Ocho.
Was that Steve Smith Sr.?
Ding, ding, ding. There you go, Tony. That's 2 points for you, buddy. Good job.
Do you have how close I was? Like, where was Chad on there? Like, was I close?
I should have put the list. I should have put like the top 3 or something, but I didn't.
So I was trying to think of the teams that were good that were competing in the Super Bowl, and I was like, didn't Steve Smith win like Triple Crown one year of those years? Okay.
He had like 1,600 yards this season in 05. All right.
Got close. I'm getting close.
Now we're getting closer to your guys' era.
Now your boy's back in the game.
Oh, okay. Who led the NFL in receiving in 1998?
98.
So this 98
was, right? Or a Bronco?
No, this was I think 98 was that the Vikings year where they went off with like Culpepper, the Gary Anderson 15-1 team. It's around that time. So 98. Oof, shit.
You're on the right track, Tony, for sure.
So that was Randy Moss?
That one's Randy Moss.
Yeah.
1998 was Randy Moss. For the Vikes.
That's where I was trying to see who else in my mind. I was like, who was the wide receiver for the Falcons? I think were good that year, but they were more of a Jamal Anderson team. Packers did not have a leader. They would have been like Antonio Freeman and maybe the end of Robert Brooks at that time.
You guys know so much about the 90s. You should know who led the NFL in receiving yards in 1992.
1992. This is probably, I'm going to say Jerry Rice.
No, but he was in the top 3 that year.
Not Jerry Rice?
Jerry Rice finished third that year.
92 was a Cowboys season. I don't think Michael Irvin ever
It's not Michael Irvin.
He never led the NFL in receiving.
Top 3 were this guy, and then Michael Irvin, and then Jerry Rice.
Is it Joe's guy from the Raiders?
No, I would never put him on a fucking trivia.
It'd be Andre Reed.
It's not Andre Reed either. It's not Andre Reed. I'm kind of disappointed in Tony on this one.
Oh, come on, Sterling Sharp.
Herman Moore.
Damn it,
Sterling Sharp.
It's Sterling Sharp. I knew it. It was Sterling's one of my favorite players of all time. I still think without a neck injury, he'd be viewed as like the best wide receiver of all time.
Last one, 1986. You guys are both what, like 30 in 1986, somewhere around there?
Yeah, something like that. We're close.
1986 is who's that? That's Niners Super Bowl. So Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice, you're right.
Okay.
Tony won.
For some reason, it was easier for me to do the further we went back than the more recent years. Like I couldn't remember the last 5 years like I could remember 25 years ago.
I think it's because there's a lot in your head from the last 5 years because you still remember it.
So much more.
So stacked in there, but from the 90s, you remember, a handful of people.
Yeah, I'm still pretty good, like going through like.
Well, yeah, you could probably recall like old players and stuff, but when you think of like 1990s wide receivers, you think of Randy Moss and Michael Irvin and Jerry Rice and Sterling Sharp and them. But when you think of 2019 wide receivers, you think of off the wall guys like OBJ and other people.
All right, let's save these other quizzes for following weeks. Let's wrap it up. We're about to hit 1:30. We really appreciate who's ever stumbled upon this, however you got here, and came and hung out with us, spent some time. We know there's so many options out there. On Monday, I know for sure Mike and I will be here doing our first mock draft Monday of the fantasy football season because we got about 8 weeks or so till real draft season.
Let's go.
Yeah, so we're not that far off. So we'll be doing our first mock draft Monday. Those are always fun. Chat is usually on fire with people telling us why we're idiots. We're no stranger to that. As you can see, our boy Harrison came through here and shot all over us. But yeah, that's gonna do it.
Please draft with us, guys. Please draft with us. Hit me or Joe up, and we'll hook you up with the link on Monday.
If you got my pager, send that over to me, and I'll get you on there.
Tony, I'll just give him your address. They can just show up to your door. His address is. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh my goodness! My wife would be so pissed. She'd be like, "We're moving."
You're never talking to Mike again. Sorry.
All right. Anything you guys want to say before we get out of here? Before we wrap this show up?
No.
Harbaugh's here. Make the Bolts great again, baby.
Yes.
Let's go.
Loving it. It's going to be a great year for the Bolts. Yeah. Everybody have a great weekend. Stay safe. Get on the internet and share some positivity. Say something nice to an athlete who entertains you, or just anybody. Just be kind.